Are we good to go now, John?
Not yet. One more, please. Nifemi, I can't seem to. I don't have you on here. Okay, thank you. One last one. Funsho, your pose is.
Oof.
Thank you.
Nifemi, are you in the office?
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Why are you looking like
He's
James
in a
Bond
car.
now?
I'm in the car. All right, Dune, can we go now?
Yes, please.
Hello, everyone. Happy International Men's Day. Well, I don't know why it doesn't feel like it. Maybe because I'm not at work. The last time this was celebrated, the last time it was International Women's Day, the women painted everywhere red. I'm yet to receive any gift. I haven't even gotten a message yet. But what do they say? It's the life of the man, right? So it's an all men affair on this episode. We're talking about why men should cry. I'm joined by Peter Armand Boyo, director, actor, filmmaker, and brand ambassador. Nelson Ayaebene, he's a senior programs editor with TVC News. Funsho Alufoge is a political analyst and human rights activist. Jerry Adelu, executive director, Voice of Migrant Association. Happy International Men's Day to the man. What does it feel like, guys? It's just like, my wife just gave me the bill for Christmas and my daughter's birthday. So it has scattered my financial plan. So that's what I'm thinking about right now. But let's get to it. Men are societally discouraged from crying from a very young age. And we're hearing that may be a problem. A man is expected to suppress his tears to project self-reliance. I can't remember if anyone told me specifically not to cry, but it was modeled to me. For instance, I never saw my dad cry, and that modeled some strength. I remember at the time I followed my dad to his place of work. He's a mechanical engineer. And then for the first time, I saw how vulnerable it could be. My dad, for me, is my hero. Very responsible, very caring, never complains, does his job, doesn't eat outside, doesn't cheat on his wife. He's just a perfect gentleman. So I saw him working. He fixes generators for banks. I saw him bowing to everyone. I saw him taking orders. I just could not believe it. I felt bad. I was very young then. Growing up now, I understand the sacrifices he's made. And I think he modeled strength. I never saw him cry. While in school too, remember that we measure strength by how many strokes of the cane you can take without shedding tears. I remember one guy in school. The more they were beat, the guy did not even move. Everybody was cheering him. They said, "Now, man, you be." So big boys don't cry. It's a social attitude which has been instilled into us, somehow to hold back our emotion with the hope of upholding the masculine image. But I want to start, guys, by asking you when last you cried. Or if you can't remember, when last did you feel like crying? And what exactly happened? Did you suppress it? Let me begin with Peter Armand Boyo. Mr. Boyo, if I go off, you continue this conversation. So just let me bring you on right now. Let me hear from you. When last did you cry?
Actually, the last time I cried was 3 days ago. And
wow,
it wasn't like it was actually like test run for an acting gig. So
I see.
But the last time I cried emotionally was, I think, last year. So yeah. But I think in society, people see crying as a sign of weakness. And crying is more of an emotion. You can cry when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're angry, when you're frustrated. So crying is not necessarily a sign of weakness, which is what everyone sees. So, the last time I cried was 3 days ago. So
that one was fake cry. You were crying for the camera.
No, it takes a lot to cry on command. It takes a lot to cry on command, trust me.
I understand, because there are times when I even feel like I really want to cry, but the tears are not coming out. I think I have not cried for so long a time that I forgot how to. Let me hear from Alufoge. Funsho, when last did you cry?
I would say early last month. Although tears did not come out, but I mean I was really crying, but tears were not coming out. I was just really pained. I was pained coming out. That's early last month.
Do you want to tell us what happened? Did someone break your heart? Was it your girlfriend?
You got it. Exactly. I was
Oh, I'm spot on. Are you kidding me? This guy is soft. How can you cry because someone broke your heart?
Oh man. If I think back, all the times I actually cried, they were caused by heartbreaks. So yeah, heartbreaks have always
by heartbreak.
Yeah.
Are you serious? How many heartbreak experiences have you had now?
Oh wow. Let's say 5.
5. Guys, take a break. Take a break. Take a break. Take a break. Come on.
Yeah. I'm taking a break, right?
Chill. Take a break. Man, those guys are not taking it easy with you. All right. Is Jerry there? Jerry, did you cry when you ran out of Nigeria? When last did you cry?
Nifemi, I'm here. Good morning. I'm just laughing because this is actually a funny topic, and I cried most times. Like the last time I cried was September 11th when I lost my dad. At that point when somebody was so dear and so caring, I was just called that I lost him. Like, are you serious? Because I spoke to him with them that morning before he actually passed out. So I didn't even know where the tears came out. I was normal, but I was seeing that my eyes were bringing water. So it was people that were not telling me, bro, did they cry? I was like, are you serious? so I think so that was the last time I cried. So I think a few days back, I cried again when I did something and somebody was just calling my name and was just like praising me. Jerry Ryan, see you, blah, blah. You're just telling me what I was doing over the years, the work I've done. And that makes me cry like, wow. So somebody actually, see what I'm doing and is pleased with it. So I think crying is
absolutely. Absolutely. I think that I understand. So you're saying for Funsho cried because his heart was broken. But for you, you also cried not only because your heart was broken when you lost your dad, but also because someone complimented you. And I think that perhaps men don't get a lot of thank yous for the things they do. So a big thank you to the guy who said thank you to you. Or was it a lady?
No. It was you bring why you turning the table now.
All right. I think we should also say thank you to Dr. Armand for coming up with such a great topic on International Men's Day.
Exactly.
Nelson, are you there now? Oh, I think we lost touch with Nelson for now. So I'm going to return to Nelson in a short while. But guys, let's get to the meat of it. So I've been reading up on quite a number of studies in this regard. And one of them says that the fact that, there's a fact that men cry less than women. That isn't quite surprising, but it is the gap in frequency that is alarming. A particular study says while women cry anywhere from 30 to 64 times a year, men shed tears just 5 to 17 times. And that's pretty much amazing. In fact, another study says male reluctance to shed tears arose as recently as late 1800s when factory owners discouraged men from crying because it reduced productivity. Now, I'd like us to talk about, the male responsibility and the expectation on the man and how that affects the expression of one's emotions. For instance, you're married and then you're expected to provide for the house. Most homes still rely heavily on the man as the male provider, as the sole provider in this part of the world. And even if you're not married, perhaps you have siblings, or even at work, there are expectations on you. Just share with me your experience. I'm going to begin with Mr. Boyo in that regard. Do you think that, the huge expectation on the male figure hinders their emotional expression in some way?
Well, very much so. But one thing I want to say is, like we say in acting, there are different types of crying. That study that you did that showed there were 17 whatever times a man cries. There are different types of crying. There's the internalization where tears don't come out. There's the crying that, like, the tears come out for like 2-3 seconds, you just tear up. And then there's the weeping, and then there's the lamenting. So there's different types of crying. So when there's a study that says men don't cry, men cry every day. Maybe not tears, but I'm sure when you got your bill, you're like, ooh, you know what I mean? So, so there's a difference between shedding tears and crying. You can cry internally. And yes, the burden of being a man, especially in this society where everything is financially, support, emotionally, men suppress that emotion. And I don't think it's correct, but that is what is going on. Because if you show emotion, or if you cry, or they look at you as a soft guy or a weakling, men are supposed to be strong. Men are supposed to take care of the family. Men are supposed to handle stress. Men are supposed to provide. Men are supposed to do this. There's so much stereotyping. And for someone like me that I'm a nonconformist, I just do whatever I feel like. I don't, if I want to cry in public, I'm going to cry. Do you know what I mean? So yes, there's that. What do I want to say now? There's that stigmatization, or there's that burden on men that you should not show emotion. But I think if men show more emotion, there'll be less aggression, there'll be less abuse, because you're letting out your emotions. If you're stressed and if you have all these burdens and you don't let it out, it's going to build up and eventually it's going to come out. Maybe not in a positive way. Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. I agree with you.
I agree with your statement. Yeah.
I agree with you absolutely. The question you hear most times is, "Are you not a man?"
Yes.
Why are you baraje? But don't baraje now. You are a man. Man up. Suck it up like a man. Nelson is back. Nelson dodged my first question. Nelson, when was the last time you cried?
I can't remember, because like Peter Boyo said, the part I got to listen to, there are different ways you can cry. There are times you cry without, the sound of crying. So you're just tearing up and all that stuff. So there are times I tear up, there are times, but actually cried, I would say recently, when it became 5 years since I and my wife lost Jaden. So he died in circumstances that were, avoidable, and then it brought to mind the decay in the healthcare system and all that stuff. And so that was when I cried recently, and that was in October. We're in November now. I remember when he died, I didn't cry for months. Yeah, a man shouldn't cry. That's what they say here. Man up, soak it in, be strong. Yeah. And so I didn't cry for months. I held it in. I held it in seriously. But the day I cried, months after he died in 2016, I didn't even see it coming. I was on my way to work and I was in the public transport, and all of a sudden, it just hit me that I lost my son then. And I burst into flames of tears. I couldn't hold it. And talking about crying or tears or showing emotions or whatever, I've always been fascinated growing up when I read there was this supposed letter by Abraham Lincoln to his son. And one of the points that really touched me was where he said to his son, there is no shame in tears. And I've always held on to it. So whether it was heartbreak, like Funsho, who visited Heartbreak Hotel so many times, so whether it's heartbreak, I let it out. Whether it's the loss of a person, a friend, because I've always known, or by things I've read growing up, I've always known that there's no shame in tears.
That's right.
Even Jesus wept. So who am I? So I've always known that yes, it's normal to cry. But the thing about the African society is that yes, we cry sometimes as men, but we don't have that freedom to actually do it.
To express ourselves.
Express ourselves. Look at the kind of music we churn out. I listen to both foreign and Nigerian music, Afro pop, whatever you want to call it. How many times do you hear your musicians talk about, use the word cry in their lyrics? Backstreet Boys, Westlife, Michael Jackson, name it. They'll talk about crying. Craig David sang the song Unbelievable, and he said, when I think about all I have and the chance I nearly lost, I just break down and cry. It's normal to cry, but here it's the freedom to actually cry is not there. How many times do you see our players, our footballers play a match and then they win and they cry tears of joy? You can
Men don't cry.
Men don't cry here, even though we know that, yes, once in a while, your emotions can get the better part of you. You see Neymar, the footballer, I think it was Costa Rica, one of the World Cups. They won, and then he cried. He cried so relentlessly, and he got backlash all over Twitter, even back home. Somebody even called him one of the worst footballers, out there, and all that stuff. It's a normal thing to cry. But the freedom to cry is a different thing. In this part of the world, you don't see our footballers don't cry. Roger Federer, there was this epic match between Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, and it lasted for hours. And after the back and forth for a long time, Rafael Nadal won that match, and Roger Federer cried like his life depended on it. Men cry. It's healthy. It's healthy to cry. Sometimes it's therapeutic, but if you cry here, you probably want to hide the amount of tears you shed. So even when you cry a bit, you're like, I beg, I clean my eyes before these people start to see what kind of stuff
I think I like the way you put it, that men cry. The challenge here is the freedom to cry. And I think I'm going to hold on to it. You also mentioned the issue with Neymar. Another study published in the journal Psychology of Men and Masculinity talked about footballers who cry being reportedly having higher levels of self-esteem, because they are said to are less concerned about peer pressure, and they don't mind crying in front of their teammates. Dude is supposed to be on this podcast. I think he ran away. But let me get to Funsho. Let me get to Funsho very, very quickly. The implication of holding back emotions. Yeah. I like us to talk about the need for men to get mentors, because we are raised in such a way that we seem to be the final authority. If anything happens to you, keep it to yourself. Funsho has had his heart broken 5 times. I'm not sure you have spoken to a mentor about it before. The challenge of that is that we keep making the same mistakes over and over again, just thinking that because we are men, we're going to get it right. But it usually doesn't happen that way. So holding back emotions, is that we put up a front. We appear outwardly one way while we're suffering on the inside. It's why men cheat on their wives. It's why men go out to drink at night, is why some abuse substance, because they are just sucking it up, sucking it in. They are holding it. There's a lot. In fact, some men, they are ready to explode. The only way they are sure they don't explode is to go and do all these things. So for sure, talk to us about the need for men to begin to seek mentorship. If they can't speak freely with those around them, there should be someone a man can speak with. Do you agree with me? Or can speak?
Yes, I do agree with you. I think other than mentorship, we all need a form of support system, even if it's not a particular person that you look up to. If it can be a group of people, family, friends, as a support system, that these are the people I can go to when things are happening, things are going right for me. These are the people I can speak to. We all need this kind of people in our lives. They can be our friends, they can be, spiritual leaders, or just people that feel very comfortable to basically open your mind, to open, like, speak and be one with this form of support system.
Okay,
Hello?
so you were breaking, but I think you're talking about men having a support system, right? People that they can
Support.
get back. Oh, support system. Yeah, a support system.
I don't know if I can react to what his Funsho is saying, or the point please. You've raised. There's a lot of damage when you try to soak in those emotions. Before I married my wife, I was dating a lady who really put me through hell, to the point that my colleagues at work were scared for my mental health. They were really scared for me. And so we dated for 2 years, and all of a sudden, she stopped keeping in touch for about 3 months. And then one of those days, I was going for an assignment on 3rd Mainland Bridge. And then her call comes in on a Wednesday. And she's like, "Hi, how are you doing, Nelson?" I'm like, "Fine." I'm like, "Why have you not been keeping in touch?" And she's like, "Don't worry. Sorry, I've not really been keeping in touch. I just called for you to give me your blessings and let you know that I'm getting married this Saturday." And I'm like,
"Oh shit."
And I'm like, I thought you wanted to, I was expecting, when I saw that call, I was expecting that, okay, it was for us to, settle our differences and get back. And in the middle of where that bridge where people are thinking of jumping over, she calls me and she tells me she's getting married that Saturday.
But
I could not cry.
She didn't know you were on the 3rd Mainland Bridge.
What? I could not. That was, I've seen shocking moments, but that would remain epic for me.
But I honestly don't know what you were thinking about. Yes. But 3 months is a long time.
Yeah, I see this thing happen in movies, especially in Nollywood. Bro.
Yes.
But I never thought in my life that it will happen to me. Dated this person for 2 years, and just at the last minute, she calls you. No argument, no quarrel, nothing. And she just tells you, I'm getting married this weekend. And you want me to bless that night. I'm like, how? I couldn't grieve. I couldn't cry. There was no closure. There was nothing. But I tell you, when I moved on and I came to terms with it, and then I met my wife and we started dating, that relationship was probably supposed to last 6 months. But every baggage, everything, I didn't cry. I didn't beg. There was nothing. I just moved on into this relationship. And the relationship that was supposed to just take us 6 months, took us another 2 years. And those 2 years, everything my ex made me go through, my wife went through it equally. Because I was coming into that relationship with pain, being jilted, being disappointed. I gave that relationship my all. But that was the first time I went heartbroken and I was heartbroken and numb at the same time. I didn't allow myself to, let go, cry if I wanted to. And so soaking it in and just taking it the way it came, also moving on, all affected my relationship with, and thank God, we were able to weather the storms. There were times I made my wife cry when we were dating. I knew I was doing something wrong, but at that point, it didn't mean anything to me because somebody has done worse to me, and so soaking it in as a man and bottling it up. The day you would explode, it would be so. It's so highly flammable. All you just need is one trigger, something to just trigger it. You would go ballistic. It will escalate, and that's the danger of not letting out some of these emotions.
And because you didn't resolve it in that old relationship, you carried over to the new one.
I carried it over. Seriously.
I see that Funsho is raising his hands. You guys are really pouring out your hearts. Maybe we should just start a men mentorship program. I'm going to be the proprietor. I'll collect the money. Yes. You were saying something, Mr. Boyo.
Soaking it up as a man. Now that statement is what this is all about. Soaking it up as a man, not soaking it up as a person. If it was probably he would have cried, dealt with it 1 week, she's gone. But you took it and took the baggage over. But I'm glad you dealt with it, because if you let it build up, it builds up. It does, and it becomes heavy on. So we need to break that.
And just be human for a bit. I'm told that Funsho's hands are raised. Funsho, did you quickly want to interject and say something?
Something about and having a support system or seeking assistance. We as Africans or Nigerians that are more aware of, we don't have this habit or culture of seeking counseling. So we go through a lot of challenging situations, and there's gender now, as being a woman or being a man. In Nigeria, we hardly seek mental health assistance. We don't go to psychologists, we don't go to counselors to let what you can. That's why suicide rise right now. Suicide is rising.
That's right.
Because and men are more likely to commit suicide than women. So who have been socialized to basically keep things within them, who now live in a culture seek assistance. Just see that we are basically unpack a lot of things to encourage men to express how they feel and seek counseling or support of any kind.
That is very powerful. That is very powerful. I also think that a lot of men are arrogant and proud. Many of us think that we've got it all figured out. But that's terribly wrong. When I got married to my wife, we had these little fights. She grew up in a family of all girls. There were 5 of them, and then their dad would have them do anything. So my wife would climb the wall, fix the bulbs. I mean, do everything I'm supposed to do. And then one day I got angry. I said, "What's wrong with you? I'm the man here. I will be doing all these things." But after a while, we've been married for 6 years now. I don't admit to her often, but I think she's stronger, even though she's a woman. Whoever taught us that a man should provide leadership in a family and should show a level of strength. But you can marry a woman who has, a greater amount of strength. I mean, she might provide strength in your area of weakness. It's just about admitting it and, taking advantage of it. I'm coming to you now, Jerry. I'd like us to talk about, this issue of mentorship and support system. Usually, when men are under a lot of pressure, they just go out to drink with their peers. But these issues are not resolved. They talk about football, they talk about Big Brother Naija, they talk about girls, they talk about all the flimsy things. But then, not really. The issues are not really tabled, and they are not even getting the right counsel. For instance, you go to beer parlor, and then the counsel you are getting is chase that woman away, marry another one, borrow money, all those very devilish counsels. Talk to me about how you think men can get better in this regard.
Okay, I think men can actually get better by them crying. So let me say it officially, men, you have to cry because you just have to cry. That's just the solution. Because if you look at the statistics, how many women have you ever heard that died of heart pressure or heart failure? It's only men that you hear this man died because of heart failure, heart problem, heart kidney, heart is why? Because they don't cry. And once you cry for me is an expression of what you feel as a person. So if you can cry, in a way, it has calmed the situation of things down. So for men who actually think, talking about it in what you call it, in the beer parlor or in the salon, bro, sir, you have to cry. Because 90% of the women who cry when they face through challenges, they feel relief. And that relief gives them another extra life. These days, we see, like Mr. Nelson was mentioning, for football, people cried for basketball, for musicians, people who write about, who sings about cry. Those people are crying their heart out. They are actually saying what was wrong with them or what is going on with them, to actually express a sense of, oh, I actually cry my own self. So for every man who believes I'm an African man, I shouldn't cry, sir, cry. That African mentality is actually not correct. You have to cry, bring out your heart. Make sure your heart is. Because once you cry, there are some heats that comes out from your body, some extractions. So that thing will help you to at least gain your life back again. For me, as a person, like I said, I cry. Any little thing I can just cry. Some people will say, boy, leave that thing. Just let me cry my cry. Thank you.
But wait, how do you feel when you are done crying?
When I'm done crying, sometimes I'll just feel, wow, this problem is actually half solved, because there's nobody that can help you. You are the only one that can help and can console yourself. In the situation whereby there's nobody, because everybody in the world today, we are just trying to help. Okay, you see, we go to church, for example, they are singing, they are dancing, there are challenges, there are bills to pray, people are singing worship, crying. You just fold your hands, No, men don't cry. Even in the presence of God, I wonder, you cannot cry to God. You cannot
for God,
inside the room. You cannot cry outside. So when are you going to cry? So it's better you cry so that they will know that you cry. So that's my advice to men. Cry, you cry. Thank you.
Fantastic point, Jerry. It's not just okay to cry. It's good for you. I studied one time when they talked about emotional tears, including an endorphin. That endorphin, they say it also contains a natural painkiller. So when you cry, toxic substances are removed from the body.
Exactly.
Yes, it is self-soothing. It elevates your mood.
And
And
that
that
makes your head, you have a better head, because at that point when
yes,
you are crying, you are demoralized. And at the end of the day, if you don't have
yes.
anybody to console you, it becomes heart problem, heart failure.
I
So
think it is why a lot of men drink a lot of alcohol
exactly.
because they don't cry. Because tears are supposed to be like an antidepressant. So they are looking for a way to, manage their moodiness and what they're going through. Really, I'm beginning to feel it's a good place to wrap up this conversation because we're not likely going to end it. But I'm told that Nelson's hands are raised. But Nelson, let me just hear your thoughts out very quickly.
Okay. So apart from,
Nelson, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes. Please go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay. So apart from crying when you feel the need to because you're going through pain, people should also learn to cry when it's good. There's something called tears of joy. So savor every moment. It's bad, the economy, there's no money, there's loss. Yes, cry. But also, you can also cry when there are moments where there's promotion. You look back at how far you've come up until that point. Don't hold it. I'm a man. Why should I be too jubilant and cry? Let it out. Allow yourself to feel the emotion. So you hit jackpot, somebody dashed you money, like all this, maybe the way these celebrities trend out there where they're just sending 1 million to each other. So you get a piece of the pie. Celebrate, cry. It's not just when you feel bad. Sometimes you can just reflect on how good life has been to you, and you can cry about it. It's normal. Sometimes to also be able to move forward, there are times you would have to go back to those things that hurt you, and you put yourself in those situations again. So I'm an adult. I go back to that day when, and this is, for example, an adult, you go back to that day where, as a boy, maybe your uncle raped you and you just moved on. Because boys go through stuff.
They do.
Boys go through a lot of stuff, just the way women
girls do too. Yes.
Just the way girls do. Just give me a minute. I need to. Yeah. Okay. Good. So there are times you need to go back to those past thoughts because you didn't really get the time to process those moments and find closure. So you go back to your 8-year-old when you were raped by your uncle. You go back to your 10-year-old when you were accused of something you never did. That's and right. you never got the chance to for people to hear your own side of the story. You go back to your 15-year-old when you had your first heartbreak. Go back to those moments because there's, like we say, there's a lot we are holding on to. There's a lot we've tried to soak in the name of being strong and be a man. That's and who says it's only a man that should be strong? Shaggy sang about the strength of a woman. So strength or being strong is not just limited to being a man. So absolutely. So stop that mindset of I'm a man. Go back to those you've not dealt with.
That's right.
Your phobia, your trauma, your fears, go back to those moments as a
and
man.
have them resolved so that you can move
Think
on.
about them. If you want to cry, if you need to cry, cry. If you need to break down, break down. If you need to seek counsel, seek counsel.
That's
but
right.
ensure that you don't go through life with the baggages that your tears would have washed off you.
Absolutely. So that you don't become a liability, because that's what most men are. You know, I think that the challenge is that many men also have not found spaces where they can become vulnerable. For instance, certain men don't even speak to their wives. They don't open up to their wives. It is why some men are abusive. You know, they have a lot of bottled up emotions, and then because they don't have enough intelligence to deal with it, you know, they become violent. I see that Jerry hands were raised. Jerry, you have just 1 minute. What's your reaction to this?
I actually want to share the reason why I still think men should cry. You know,
Yes.
when I actually traveled to Libya, when we get to the Mediterranean Sea, you know, seeing that sea, like I used to say, like there is no end to that Mediterranean Sea. Where you look at your front, you are seeing sea at your front, at your back. There is no rock, there is no tree, there is no water. And guess what? You don't know how to swim. It's not like you are entering a boat, but you are entering a balloon to pass through that place when you know you don't know how to swim. And inside that place, people were dying. So like when they rescued me out, I was seeing corpses of people who their boat capsized. Mr. Nifemi, if you see tears on my eyes that day, it was touching. Like even as I'm remembering the experience now, I feel like just to cry because that day I was crying. I said, God, if you can help me go back to my country, I will never try this again. My
You will
eyes were
never do it
soaked.
again.
My eyes were soaked, but so heavy that I could not even close them. A lot of Nigerians were there. They were crying. People claim that they are men, they can pass through the water. They were crying when they saw that, when the sea brings out the dead corpse, some of them, they were no longer having eyes, they were no longer having no nose. The fishes in the sea ate up
Jesus.
their eyes. So you'll be seeing scores like somebody So many people were crying. My eyes were so heavy that they like, hey, God, if only you can help me.
You think
I
you
will
are a
not try
man until you see
so,
things that
yes,
scared you. I mean,
it's
things that
actually
scare you.
good for you to cry, because at the point where you are crying is a
Yes,
point where you actually make decisions what
absolutely.
next to do.
And I
Because once you
think that
cry,
Jerry just hit the nail on the head, because I was going to wrap up by saying that it's okay to cry, right? But you have to do something when you're done crying. And I love to reference a story I read in one of this Jewish history. So one of the prominent guys in Jewish history is a man called King David. But before he became a king, he had issues with Saul, who was the king at the time. And he became a vagabond, running from cave to cave. In fact, at some point, he had to go partner with the Philistines, which was, where his arch enemies at the time. So he had an issue, someone who was running from a king who wanted to kill him. And then the next thing, he heard that his wives and his children have been abducted alongside the property and the, family of his men. And in that history book, they said he cried, that he and his men, about 400 of them, cried until they had no more power to cry.
then begin to cry.
I mean, all of them cried to the point where they had no power. But at some point, he encouraged himself. I said, okay, now let us pursue this guy. I mean, let us brace up all the strength we have on our inside. So I think the challenge with certain men is that they cry, but that's the only thing they do. So cry. I'm not saying don't cry, but as soothing as crying is, it's not going to solve all the problems. I think it will just clear your head to know the next step to do. And I'm hoping that all of us will summon up courage to do the right things. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been a part of today's episode. I think I enjoyed myself. I hope you enjoyed yourself too. Please don't forget, we are starting We're starting a men mentorship program. It's a master class. We will collect 50K from everybody. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. Nelson, Peter, and Boyo, Funsho. I was really looking forward to Dune. Dune, I hope that you join the next podcast.
Well, I
Jerry.
wanted to say one thing.
Yes, okay, please, Mr. Boyo, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, crying is not a sign of weakness. Crying is an emotion that releases you from stress, frustration, happiness, whatever. It takes a strong man to cry. It takes a confident, strong man to cry in front of other people. So crying is good for the soul.
Did I say I like your cap? If your glasses was to be circular, I would have thought that you are running for president in 2023. But you won't understand until after the end of this podcast. All right, everyone. Thank you for being a part of the show. If you're watching, okay, for sure. Let's have your last thoughts very briefly.
Saying men don't cry is just perpetuating toxic masculinity that basically promotes harmful stereotypes that reduces the humanity in men. So as we are men, we should do better to encourage the younger ones to cry, to feel their humanity, whichever way it comes to them, and be themselves, their true, authentic self. If they want to cry, they should cry. It's just natural. Because crying is helpful for humans. Men are humans, so men should cry. Thank you.
Yes, men should cry. So I have to go and find onions now because I need to cry.
No, not that kind of cry.
I can teach you how to cry, don't worry.
All right. Thank you so much for joining live on Facebook. And if you're listening via any of our podcast platforms, we say a big thank you. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's Lives Abundantly with an apostrophe, with an exclamation mark. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. See you guys later. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Wow. It's a miracle my battery lasted this long. It is one of the challenges of being a man.
No, because your battery is crying. Your battery is crying too. So
Good to see you, Jerry. Have a great day. Dr. Armand, thank you so much.